Today we're going to be talking about what the Cowboy Load is, why you do it, and where it comes from. How's it going, guys, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk. My name is Chad and this is the Hopeful Homestead. Got here right now by my tiny cabin on wheels that I parked out here at my little campsite I built out here on my family's 21-acre property that we're calling the Hopeful Homestead. And today we're talking about the Cowboy Load and why you do it, what it is, and why I do it every day. Some of you might be thinking, I know what the Cowboy Load is. Why are we talking about this? It's been around for centuries. Well, not centuries, but about 100 years now. So yeah, maybe centuries. It's basically something that's as old as cartridges at this point. It's something that people did, that cowboys did it. It's a way to load your gun safely to make sure that you don't get yourself shot. So what the Cowboy Load is essentially is making sure that you're resting the hammer of the gun, it's for a revolver specifically if you don't know this. It's the way you load your cartridges into your revolver. It's a way that you do it that allows you to ensure that your hammer is resting on an empty chamber, so that your cylinder is oriented in such a way that you only have 5 rounds. This is originated with a six-shooter gun, 6-shooter revolver, so that you would only have 5 rounds loaded up with the hammer resting on an empty chamber. And you might be thinking, why on earth would you do that? You already only have 6 rounds. Why would you limit yourself further by only having 5? And the reason here is because these type of revolvers that this Cowboy Load originated with were single-action Army Colt type of revolvers back in the day. And those type of revolvers, like the ones that I carry around, have a firing pin mounted to the hammer. There's not a firing pin floating in the frame. There's not, there's no transfer bar, no safety mechanism. This firing pin, when you have the hammer sitting down, the pin would be sitting directly on the primer of a live round if you had that that hammer lined up with a chamber that has a live round in it. And so that's not too safe, right? So in theory, if you would be walking around with that gun in your holster on your hip, pointed down at your feet or down at your hip, if you were doing work, which, cowboys, you're outside doing a lot of work, but you don't want to accidentally shoot yourself in the foot or in the hip or whatnot because your hammer is sitting on a live round. So what ended up happening a lot is cowboys would be outside doing work, and you'd have something bump that hammer while it's in your holster. If it bumps it hard enough, it can set off that live round that's under the firing pin, and boom, you've got a live bullet shooting out through your holster at your foot or into your leg, and that's a no-go. So that's where the Cowboy Load came from. It originated as something that good old cowboys did back in the day, that people out who carry guns while they're outside doing work realized that they didn't want to have that risk, so they just would load it in a particular manner to make sure that the revolver rests on an empty chamber. Now, these original Colt Single-Action Army type guns, they don't have a full wheel that swings out to where you can load your ammunition into a particular pattern on a cylinder and then swing that cylinder back up and then just line it up properly. You can't do that. The cylinder is permanently affixed inside of the frame of the gun, and so in order to load, you have to load each round individually through the loading gate in such a manner that causes the hammer to rest on an empty chamber, and you have to do it in a certain pattern to make sure that you don't accidentally, even in the attempt of trying to do this, accidentally setting the gun off. And so without any further ado, let me take out my pistol and show you exactly how you do the Cowboy Load. That's right, I've got my Cimarron Thunderball right here today. Beautiful little firearm. Love this thing, especially on a nice sunny day when you're outside like this. This thing just shines like crazy. It is just beautiful. But I'm gonna go ahead and unload it now so that you can see what I'm talking about. Take all of these rounds out of it, these big old chunky 45 Colt rounds, right? And we are clear, totally empty. Got all 5 rounds set down on the table there. So we have a clear gun. Now I'm actually gonna turn the camera around so you can see exactly how I'm loading this. Okay, so you see, when you've got a Single-Action Army Colt clone like this, it operates just like the old Colts did. You got your loading gate on the side. You pop that open, and then you cock the hammer 2 clicks. 1, 2. And that frees up the cylinder to freely rotate so you can load, because like I said, the cylinder does not swing out on these like it does on modern wheel guns. So you got to load each round individually into each chamber. And so in order to make sure when you finish, if you just load 5 rounds up and then set the hammer down, it's going to set the hammer down on a live round, even though you're trying to have an empty chamber in there. So you have to load it in a particular manner to be able to have that hammer rest on an empty chamber. And I will demonstrate that to you right now. You're going to want to hold the gun in your left hand. That makes things easier. And you got your 5 rounds of 45 Colt in the other hand. You have your loading gate open. You load 1 round in there. You see you got the 1 round in there, and then you rotate the cylinder. You got an empty round. You skip that one. You skip that, and then you load the remaining 4. and I will show you how this ends up resulting in a safe gun that cannot go off on accident. So you got all that there, and so this is the point where it confuses some people. You've got all 5 rounds loaded in there. You close the loading gate. What I like to do is I like to, keeping the gun pointed in a safe direction, obviously, I look on the side of the gun. I don't know if you can see inside of that cylinder gap right here, that when I cocked the hammer all the way, that rotated the empty chamber that was right here up in alignment with the hammer. And now I can safely and effectively set that hammer down on an empty chamber, and I can see through here, I can see the brass of all the other rounds down here, and in the top I can see there's a gap with no brass, and I can actually see the firing pin poking out through that. I don't know if you can tell in here. See if I can get that to show. Yeah, right there. You see the gap? See the gap up there? And the firing pin rests in that gap. That's the Cowboy Load. So now this is a totally safe gun that cannot go off. So in a lot of my other videos, when people are giving me crap about trigger discipline, I'm carrying these guns. These are what kind of guns I carry. I'm used to these, I know these well. And this is the type of gun that when you have it loaded this way, it is not possible for it to go off. So the trigger does absolutely nothing until you pull that hammer. And as soon as you pull that hammer, it will bring a live round up in line with the barrel of the gun. But this is the Cowboy Load. It allows you to be able to have a safe gun on your hip so you're not gonna accidentally bump that hammer and set off a live round. Well, that's it. That's the Cowboy Load. That's how you safely load a good old-fashioned single-action Army Colt, or one of the clones like what I have here. And that's how you can make sure you don't shoot your foot off on accident. You know, if you decide to get a single-action Army and you actually want to carry it while doing something outside, you know, that's a way to load the gun to make sure you're keeping the gun safe. But all right, that's gonna do it for today's video. Thanks for watching all the way through if you did. Again, my name is Chad, this is the Hopeful Homestead, and if you feel like sticking around, I got a video right here all about why I love revolvers and lever guns, why I love good old-fashioned wood and steel, and why I think those kind of guns have soul. So go click on that and I'll see you over in that video. Thanks for watching, guys.